I have a question for you to start the week. And it was a controversial take, but I think it's a conversation that's needed to be had. Is the American dream dead?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I know they're going to say, y'all are lucky, y'all are entrepreneurs, you live in America. Shout to you 4 Trump supporters in here. Go back to where you came from. Yeah, I hear you. But at scale, it's a conversation that needs to be had. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. That's how we start the book off, for sure. So, it's definitely a little controversial, but I look at it like this. As far as, I'll speak on the good side first. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're trying to really chase your dreams, America is flawed in a lot of ways, past and present, but there's no place like America. Only in America. That was the slogan for Don King. So America's still a place.
Donald Trump. I'm like, boy, hold on.
Don King. Remember Don King? That was the only in America. That was his thing.
Yeah, another pillager. We got to talk about the Black culture vultures one day, but go ahead.
He's a legend, though.
For sure. I'm not taking that away.
yeah, for sure. But, when you look at the situation as far as, if you really, America's a place where you can really get busy. Put your head down, 24 months, make the right moves, and you could really, really change your life in America.
For sure.
So I'll start off saying that. Now, as far as the American dream, what I'm referring to a lot of times when I speak about the American dream being a lie is that this idea that if you work hard and you make it to the middle class, then that's the golden level of life, and you can, retire at 65 and you can send your kids to college and that to me is a lie. The middle class is a product. The mortgage system in America is a product of the banking system.
Yeah.
So the idea of, okay, you moving from, and now we're seeing a reverse, people are moving from the suburbs to the city, but the idea that you move from the city to from a low income neighborhood to a suburb to a mid to, doing okay neighborhood has some level of security is not true. You actually probably have even less security, because at least when you're paying rent, you're just paying rent. Worst that happens is you miss the rent and you get kicked out. The worst thing that happens when you default on your loan is that you can actually get sued. And now you got $400,000 that you got to pay, and then it ruins your credit forever. And then so it's actually way worse to default on a mortgage than it is to just not pay your rent. You could just walk out on a rent payment. But the thing about it is this: most Americans are buying homes that they can't afford. That's why you need to watch this show tomorrow. Most Americans are buying homes that they can't afford. So when you're putting something on heavily over a debt, so you're going in debt, tremendous amount of debt to make sure that you're living somewhere. But the average person doesn't have $4,000 in savings. So what that tells me is that's why we have to have compassion for homeless people, because we don't know how they got there, either from the mental aspect or the financial aspect. But the vast majority of people are not far away from being homeless, right? We're all just one decision and one paycheck away from being homeless. So you got to think about this stuff, right? Where it's like, okay, if you have $4,000 saved, then that means that you're living pretty much paycheck to paycheck. And if something happens for a month, let alone 2 months, right? If you don't have family, you're going to be out on the street. That's not a dream to me. That's more of a nightmare. So you gotta leverage the next 30 years to live in a home that you can't afford, work every single day to make sure that you just make sure you maintain that level, right? Then you sending your kids to college. The college is $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. The average person, I just said the average person got $4,000 in savings. So how are they going to pay $30,000 a year? Well, what happens? You student loans. So now you're in debt for your house. Your kids are in debt for their education. They're getting degrees most of the time that's not even going to really advance them in life. So they're starting life out with $150,000 student loan debt, and they're still not even able to find a job, right? And then when you look at it from a standpoint of wages have stayed the same for the last 30 years for the most part, but the cost of living
they're negative with adjusted for interest rates and inflation.
Right. The cost of living has gone up tremendously. So it's like this on a chart. So if wages are staying the same and cost of living is going up, The next question is, how are people able to survive? How are they buying groceries? It's a direct correlation to why credit card debt is at an all-time high, and every year it becomes a new all-time high, trillions of dollars of credit card debt, right? Because the difference that people are not making in their income, they're supplementing, putting it on debt. So you're living somewhere that you can't afford. You're sending your kids to school for that they can't afford. You're putting yourself in debt on the home. You're putting yourself in debt for the school, and then you're putting yourself in even more debt to even just live day-to-day life.
Yeah.
That to me is a triple recipe for disaster. We didn't even talk about car payments.
Yeah, car loans.
And other forms of debt. So that's not a dream. That's a nightmare. That's what most people, but psychologically you can say, okay, well, I'm still doing better than I was, or somebody that's in abject poverty, because I'm not, waiting on food lines, and I'm not starving. I have meals coming in. I could go to Miami 2 times a year, but it's like that dream is to keep you it's like putting a carrot in front of the rabbit, but having them on a treadmill. You can see it, because if you're in abject poverty, now you when you don't have no hope, that's when you revolt, right? But when they got to keep you some level of hope, and they got to keep you some level of you're better than somebody else. So that's the trick, even with like white supremacy, where poor white people, that they feel like at the very least they're white. So they made them feel emboldened by that, because they might not have anything else, but they was like, okay, I still feel good about myself because I'm white. Living in the poorest states in America, having, health issues, can't read, all types of shit. So I just see that as a trap to the American dream. That's not real to me. That's more of a nightmare. But that's my humble opinion. How do you feel about
it? When statements like this are made, I always like to go to the origins of it, and I would love to ask the question: American dream for whom? It didn't say American dream for citizens. So if I look at the banks, if credit card debt is at the highest it's ever been, mortgages are higher than they've ever been. The average payment for a car is, I read, $772 per month, which is insane. And then if undergrad loans are higher than ever, and now there's degradation in even going to college and having a pathway. Like most kids who go to school now, they don't know what career path they're going to take. At least when we went to college, or the thought was in elementary and high school, go to college, you'll get a job, damn near guaranteed, you won't have any issues. I think the American dream may be dead for the middle class, but for those who put this financial level of economic terrorism together, I think the dream is alive and well for them, for sure. I don't think anything at this scale happens by accident. And I've always said it, like the middle class has been eroded and people try and push back on it. But when you look at the actual data, people are suffering at scale worldwide while the middle is being crunched. So yeah, do I think the American dream is dead for the citizens? Yes. For the institutions, I think they're happier than ever. Because now if I have a class of people that were doing well and I somewhat eradicate them through AI or scaling, inflation, corrections in the market manipulation, I can control the population a lot better than opposed to if everyone is doing well. So, but you guys put in the comments, what do you think? Is the American dream alive and well? But the picket fence, go to college, guaranteed employment, no, that's over with.